Hi. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the UKIP result in the Euro elections. UKIP, top of the poll, 4 million votes. Predicted here long ago, or hinted at long ago before the system got onto it. UKIP, party of the future. And despite the full frontal attack by all the political parties from the right and the left and the entire media, UKIP beat them all and won convincingly, and picked up 150 plus councillors in the process, even though they've got no policies except more cuts, but people don't know what their policies are. How did I figure this out? That this would happen. You've just got to look at by-election results. In Rotherham, for example, a solidly working class constituency, they polled thousands of votes and they laid down roots. And because of that, they got 10 councillors in what was a solid working class Labour constituency since the time of Adam and Eve. It's just the sheer hypocrisy of the major parties that piss people off. Today, we've had the Chilcot inquiry, and they're not going to allow us to see what transpired between Bush and Blair, because obviously we're too ignorant and stupid to understand what it is. So they'll just give us a brief summary. We've had the Liberal Lord, whose name slips me at the moment, groping women, offering a half-hearted, pathetic apology, if that, and that's been rejected. We've got them fighting like weasels in the sack, the Liberal Democrats, and that's just like one day. So the entire system is discredited with a lot of people. And remember, the UKIP thing isn't only about race, it's about frustration in all aspects of life. People feel left behind at all levels: education, income, politics, engagement, decisions, everything, including immigration. It's frustration at the computerized age, particularly with older people of my generation that have voted for them. Try ringing up BT or try ringing up to query your gas bill. You kept waiting. Music playing. Transferred overseas, and people up the other end can't understand the colloquial English. You're kept in lines. You're put onto other departments. You're sent from pillar to post. You're given promises, but nothing ever happens. It's all PR, and you're just lost, completely lost in the electronic tangle, the computer bureaucratic tangle, and it's frustrating, extremely frustrating, that you can be on the telephone for half an hour and not even hear a human voice, just computers. And that's just part of it. People didn't rush out and vote UKIP because of it, but that is part of it. The frustration, the complete powerlessness of everyday life. That's why people voted for UKIP. What about the political parties? Well, I'd say the Tories actually come quite well out of it despite their losses. They looks like they came out quite intact, and they look on song, as far as I'm concerned, to win the general election in 2015. Nothing of those results has convinced me otherwise. As I said, the Liberal Democrats, well, I wouldn't even bother talking about them. They're finished for the moment, and they continue to disintegrate with scandal, accusations, manoeuvrings. Labour, the ones that are expected to gain and do well, the ones that I even thought might run UKIP to a close place at the top of the league, but in fact the Tories and Labour run each other to a close second, with UKIP well ahead. Dismal, unconvincing, the whole Labour campaign, as if you caught it. Their leader, Miliband, who they're not going to ditch despite any discontent, it's like a millstone around their neck. He got caught out with a classic not being able to name how much a pint of milk was. And he couldn't bluff his way out of a series of other embarrassing questions on that day. He didn't even know who he was going down to campaign for. He just tried to bluff his way out of it with a load of bullshit that was completely unconvincing, particularly to the person that was doing the interview. And so he just ended up looking like he was an idiot. Even in his own party, even on his own front bench, there's people that say he's unelectable, and the word weird has been used to describe him. And as for the pull to the right, on a politics show, Harriet Harman actually came out of sort of prominent centre-left figure in the Labour Party, actually come out stealing UKIP's thunder and saying that if migrants come over here, if they couldn't find a job for 3 months, they should be removed from the country. Just sheer demagoguery, but it goes to show you, like, you know, that all the major parties are equally racist. The ultra-right lost loads of votes, but they got them elected. I don't consider UKIP to be the ultra-right, by the way. They're not Nazis, as I've always said. The left were completely wiped out, completely and absolutely getting raving loony joke votes. I mean, in Tower Hamlets, the Trade Union Socialist Coalition got less than 900 votes. A joke in a place like Tower Hamlets. But the left is still around. There was a menace to any future political developments on the streets, any pre-revolutionary situation. Sounds quite distant now, doesn't it? But remember, in politics, as UKIP shows, anything could happen at any time. I'd liken the corpse, I'd liken the left to a corpse rotting in a limited water supply. That's what they're like. They'll always be there to screw up anything that happens. And the only politics they've got really is vote Labour, so they can be consigned to the Labour dustbin for the time being. I'm not going to let them off the hook. They're going to be constantly criticised in this video cast. As for the anarchists, well, any of them lacking a revolutionary, insurrectionary class perspective are not anarchists as far as I'm concerned. They've got no input into any commentary even on the Euro elections. They belong with the liberal left elite with their lifestyle politics. They're as removed from reality as David Cameron, Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg and their friends from the left. Completely removed. Alright, what about UKIP voters? Suddenly now they're no longer Tories according to the pundits, but or ex-Tories, sort of pink gin, ruddy-faced ex-colonels living in Cheltenham. But they are now older manual workers. Well, actually, yeah, there probably are a lot of older manual workers that are voting for them, but this is just another stick to beat the working class by the liberal elite, as they're always labelled as reactionary, ignorant, in other words, beyond their redemption. But a recent survey has noted that the biggest rise in race prejudice is with the educated professionals, the very class of people where the liberal left constituency is located. And why not? Just because you're liberal and left doesn't mean to say that you're not racist. And anyway, they hate us deep down in the centre of their egos or their ids, deep down in their souls. They hate and fear us just as much, as to say, working class lumpen people, the lower orders, as much as any racist fears black or brown people. And never ever forget that. The best you can hope to arrive at with this liberal left elite, even if they call themselves anarchists, is to be patronised. Everything else is down from there on. But who'd want to be patronised by these pigs anyway? Anyway, in the system, the higher up you go, the whiter it is. So much for the race prejudice being just confined to the lower orders. And the middle, as I say, the middle class elite, they hate us, they fear us. Their entire system, their laws, education, politics, media, just everything is, and always will be, there to keep us in our place, to divide us, to miseducate us, to rule us. When I say miseducate, if they could be bothered to educate us at all. the situation is, as the mega rich flood into London and beyond from overseas, the situation for us psychologically is insecurity, fear of the future, isolation, alienation, incomprehension, and a rumbling anger. And UKIP has provided the platform and the outlet for this. And this is a right-wing nation, so obviously they would have voted for them. There is no left-wing alternative. The only anti-establishment button they can press in the present climate is UKIP, and I don't condemn them for it. Anyway, more on UKIP in further videocasts, because it's definitely proved the party of the future. Only a third of people bothered to vote anyway, but if more people have voted, I'm absolutely convinced that the UKIP vote would have gone up, because all these old sort of loyalties, they're dying, withering on the vine at last. Say the left has been wiped out. We've got the Newham by-election coming up next week, caused by the resignation of a corrupt Tory MP. Again, you know, corrupt Tory MP, the same thing. Will UKIP win? Will they get their first MP? Well, despite all the parties uniting against them, plus the media, and probably a very lacklustre campaign run by the Liberal Democrats and Labour to ensure that the Conservative vote is shored up, and make sure that the UKIP doesn't get in, I think it's going to be very close, but a 16,000 majority is difficult to overturn. 16,000 majority for the Conservatives. Isn't that a disgusting indictment of our country? 16,000. It's probably been like that since the Victorian era. Anyway, the real importance of UKIP in the Euro and local elections is that it shook up the political system and political consciousness. It shows cracks in the political mausoleum that we exist in. And so therefore, I welcome it. And people might say, oh my God, like, you know, he's become racist, he's supporting UKIP. UKIP's politics could be nothing further from what I think. But I do welcome the shake-up, because I'm sick, as I said, of living in this political tomb where we've had the same head of state, the Queen, for 60 years, where it's Labour, Conservative, Labour, Conservative, where we live in a right-wing reactionary country where nothing ever happens. We just have a few outbursts, glorious as they are. They never seem to go anywhere. So, yeah, it's a pity about the high UKIP vote, but what can you expect in what I call Scab Nation, the land of counter-revolution, where we've never even had a revolution? So that's it, really. Oh, yeah, I'll say another thing about higher turnouts as well. Tower Hamlets, where I live, we did have a higher turnout. And there's evidence of what I said about UKIP probably picking up on a higher turnout. We had an independent mayor re-elected, plus loads of independent or his party elected as councillors, resulting in a hung council. So that's what happens when more people come out to vote. It was only 46%, but the national average was 36%. So there's no guarantee anymore that a higher turnout is a victory for the major parties. In fact, they could be give them something to fear. So yeah, that's about it really. And to talk about the aftermath of the Euro elections, we got the Newark by-election, as I said previously. I'm going to mention more about elections as they're going to, and also the Scottish referendum, as they're going to take on increasing importance. And I just like to say that Class War are putting up candidates in the election of 2015. I myself will not be supporting them, but neither will I be deriding them or putting them down. But I will be giving them what you might call sympathetic coverage, which is more than I give to anybody else, I'll tell you. So that's it really. Until the next one, I shall say goodbye, and I'm trying to get more people to actually watch me. I'm very disappointed at my viewing results. They're absolutely pitiful. I'm not really up on social media or anything like that. So in the future I should be. But carry on watching me. Get your friends to watch me if they can bear it. I am an independent voice. I answer to nobody. I'm not even the anarchist movement. My thoughts are entirely my own. And I think that that's what people should do. Think for themselves rather than parrot party lines, whether they're socialist, Tory, or even anarchist. All right then. Goodbye.